What's up everybody, Wilhelm here, bringing another Atlas News video. Today I'm going to be going over the most recent patch notes, as well as the primary feature release, Farmhouses, all the information that is included in the patch notes, as well as some information that you will find useful that is not included in the patch notes, but I've just kind of played around with on my own. With that said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the first thing to go over is going to be the farmhouses themselves. The way that you guys are going to be able to unlock them is by going into the Mercantilism Construction skill tab and unlocking the estuary building skill, which you should find at the very bottom of your skill tree. Once you have done that, you'll be able to build the farmhouse inside any regular smithy. As you can see, they're not really that expensive, so even newer players have the ability to immediately start pushing these things out. The farmhouses will require fuel in order to power them, but it's actually relatively cheap right now. The only thing that you need to put in them is a little bit of thatch, which will be used to power the farmhouse, and if you place the farmhouse anywhere near a tree, it'll actually gather its own fuel over time, so you effectively just have to fill it up once, and it'll basically be farming for you indefinitely. Something to keep in mind is that structures built within the farming radius will reduce the gathering efficiency by 25% per structure inside that radius. I didn't actually test this apart from accidentally placing one structure inside the radius and saw the 25% drop, but that is something to definitely keep in mind. So in other words, you won't really be able to have a crafting station next to your farmhouses, or at least not within the radius, if you don't want to have the massive debuff for the gathering rate. The maximum weight capacity for the farmhouses is going to be capped at 8,000 weight per farmhouse. This is both good and bad depending on what type of nodes you're going to be farming. Obviously, if you're going to have the farmhouse situated in a place that is gathering lighter materials, you'll be able to check it less often and empty it out less often, whereas if you were to stick a farmhouse on a pure set of metal nodes or crystal, you will have to actually check your farmhouse relatively often in order to ensure that it doesn't meet that 8,000 weight capacity. The devs do say that the stone farmhouses gather slightly faster. We don't have any actual numbers released by them, and I haven't actually tested it yet, and I don't actually plan to, but considering that the resource requirements for the stone farmhouses is effectively the same as the regular wooden farmhouse, I don't see any particular reason why anybody would want to just build the stone ones. So who knows, maybe they'll patch that out a little bit later and they'll make the stone farmhouses that much more expensive to build. At this point, the gathering rate of the farmhouses is so great that it's not really going to matter either way. On my own time, I went ahead and I did a little bit of testing as soon as the patch dropped on the official PvP network. Specifically on multiple lava servers, I dropped some farmhouses down in different locations to just kind of see how they function, and every single one of them, give or take just a little bit of air, effectively what they do is they gather about 100 weight per minute, which means that they're full in about 80 minutes time. So every hour and 20 minutes your warehouse will need to be emptied. You know, whatever resource that you don't want or that you do want, you're gonna have to go ahead and haul that stuff off. There are no limits to the number of farmhouses that one can place, as far as I can tell. Like I've said, I went across multiple Lala servers and dropped farmhouses all over the place, so I think I'm up to 25 plus as a solo player. But yes, as of right now, I have not hit a limit, so if you guys do find that, go ahead and drop that down in the comments, because I'll be kind of curious to see if there was in fact a limit for either a player or a company when it comes to farmhouses. The only limiting factor of the farmhouses themselves seems to be distance based only, so it doesn't really matter whether you own it or another player owns the farmhouse. It's relatively strict unless there's some sort of way to get around this, but I think that would be borderline exploiting, so I don't really recommend that. But the limit is, according to the patch notes, 12,000 units of distance within the game engine, and for those that are unfamiliar with that particular metric like I was, I've gone ahead and done the conversion for you. So it's just about 40 foundation radius around each farmhouse that prevents building another one. So definitely be strategic in the way that you place these new prefabs. Aside from the farmhouses, which are the primary feature in this update, they have announced that they're going to be delaying the ship for gold mechanic that they mentioned a week ago. So they say, quote, "We heard the feedback from the community regarding buying ships for gold, and it spurred our creative juices. We'll be holding on to this to make it into a more comprehensive feature. It'll be well worth the wait." So no ship for gold this week. They're going to be working on it a little bit more, hopefully expanding on it and releasing it at a future date. The level cap reduction is in this week, guys. they announced that they are going to be reducing every single character in the game across the board to level 80 in lieu of the Yeti exploit that occurred almost 2 weeks ago now. Definitely glad that they went ahead and did this, even though it is kind of late, and by now, people that were leveling in a legit manner could possibly already be 120, so I really do feel for the players that either didn't read the news or just didn't get the memo. I was definitely seeing a lot of comments like that this morning in the Discord, where some people were claiming that they, didn't exploit through the Yeti. And we're already close to level 120, or we're 120, and we're really upset they're getting reduced all the way back to level 80. I really feel for those bros, but overall, I definitely support this. I think it's good that they have actually taken action in light of this exploit. I spoke to the community manager, Nami. I expressed to Nami in the Discord chat that I'm glad that they were doing this, but they definitely need to take action sooner. There's no excuse for any type of development team to sit on such an obvious exploit that was so broadly abused to not take action sooner, so hopefully they will be able to take action much sooner in the future. And lastly, there have been some minor and not so minor changes. The first one is going to be they reduced the number of guard spawns per wave to 3 for the Army of the Damned treasure guards. So if you're going to be doing maps, apparently the maximum number of NPCs that'll spawn will be 3 per wave. So I don't know if this is going to increase the number of waves. They don't specifically say that it will. Effectively, treasure maps have been massively nerfed down to only 3 NPC guards per wave. So let me know what you guys think of this. It seems like there's been a lot of drastic changes regarding the Army of the Damned treasure guards, both in the past and obviously right now. So we've been reduced down to, again, 3. They also said they modified the type of guards that spawn. So as far as I was aware, there was like maybe 3 or 4 different types. Maybe they've reduced those down to 1 of each type spawning per wave. But yeah, that's kind of, it could be actually a pretty large change overall to the way that we level and the way that people are doing maps. So let me know. The next thing is that they've completely removed the XP reward from the Abominable Snowman encounter, which is effectively what was the means by which people were abusing the, quote, Yeti glitch 2 weeks ago. So definitely a good thing. The next one is that they fixed a duplication bug surrounding the explosive barrel, so you guys can take comfort in that when your ships are being harbor bombing people, you can be rest assured that your ships aren't being sunk by duplicated explosive barrels, but they're still probably being harbor bombed, so take it or leave it, that's what we get. And lastly, they have increased the torpedo damage by 50%. I confess that I'm not exactly familiar with the meta or kind of really anything surrounding the torpedoes because I haven't really been messing with them for like the last season or so. So I'm not exactly sure if this is a needed change. I know that they weren't really used very often in combat, so maybe with this buff they'll be a little bit more viable in both like the meta PvP and on the Z's, but at the very least in general I'm in support of this just because, well, if you get hit by a torpedo, it should be relatively devastating considering how slow they are and how hard it is to hit people with it. And that concludes our segment of the update for the Atlas news. If you are interested in videos related to Atlas news, potential survival, I have been Wilhelm, and I would be super appreciative if you'd consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. And I will see you guys next time. Happy sailing.